Good evening. It is Monday, December 8th. This is the Guilford Board of Education. Welcome to our meeting this evening. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We are going to start with action on the minutes from November 10th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or comments? I had, it's sort of a correction, and interested what other people think just because of what we learned afterwards. On page 7, underneath calendar drafts, draft 1 and draft 2 are listed with the start and end dates, which further down is the report that, John, you noted that they were in error, and we have since got updated dates. Does it make sense to cross out the end and end date of for each of these lines since it's incorrect? Or better to maybe put an asterisk at the end and then put an asterisk before your comment below? Because in fact, it's reporting something that is inaccurate, although it is what was said at the time.
Good point. So it's pointing, it's actually stating the
It's
inaccuracy.
it's stating two end dates that are not end dates.
Yeah.
So I wonder maybe if we put an asterisk there and then an asterisk before Mr. Del Ventura at the bottom, or just cross them out.
I would just cross them out.
I would cross them out and just say a date that was later found to be factually inaccurate, or something along those lines.
Terry, does that make sense to you that we would cross out end and end date of 6/7/27, and then on the second one, end and end date of 6/10/27, because
Didn't we have that problem with the number of days?
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that if we just at least cross those out, it's not reading inaccurately.
So keep draft 1 had a start date of 9/3, draft 2 had a start
Yeah.
date of 9/8, but just get rid of
Just get
the
rid of
end
those
date.
two.
Yeah, that's good. That makes sense.
All right.
Excuse me, sorry about that.
Any other comments or corrections to these minutes? All right, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the Monday, November 10th, 2025 Board of Education meeting minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great, thank you. Next, the November 24th Board of Ed workshop meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or corrections on these minutes?
The only thing that I wanted to point out was that HQI is referenced a bunch, but it doesn't explain what the acronym is. So I think we should point out high quality instruction somewhere.
So maybe in that, under number 2 in that,
I think
or either in the
just
title?
HQI, and then right after that, just put high quality instruction, so that we have a good understanding. of
And
that.
maybe in parentheses.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or corrections? All right, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? I am an abstention. I was not at that meeting.
Same here.
And third. I missed that one as well.
Excellent.
I did
Thank
a great job on that, don't worry.
You what?
a great job
I'm
calling it to
impressed.
order.
I'm quite sure you did.
Thank you so much.
All right. Number 4 is public comments on topics on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to comment to the board on topics on the agenda at this time? Yes? Come on up, please. If you would state your name and address, and then we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
This is for the policy, correct?
This is if it's an item on the agenda, so is this
It's for the IT policy.
the cell phone policy?
Yes.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
okay, I
yes.
just wanted to
Sorry,
make sure.
I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just wanted to make sure we had the right policy.
I was just, I expected more people.
We've heard from a number of people, I think, in previous meetings and also via email, so.
Okay, all right.
ahead.
Well, good evening. I am Dr. Michael Pascasilla, and I'm a resident in Guilford with my wife and our 2 boys for over 15 years. Living in Guilford is one of the best quality of life decisions we have made, and the main reason has been the high-ranking school district. I need to acknowledge and thank the leadership and educators. As my older son is a Guilford alumnus and will be graduating college in May, and my younger son is enjoying the high-quality education and services that are being offered by the school district. We attribute their success to the Guilford School District. It is a privilege to live in this quintessential shoreline community, and a sincere thanks to the district. I'm here to support the proposed school communications device policy as a parent, a public health official, and educator. I know this is a hard policy to address, and I admire your willingness to consider this challenging role. However, I'm not surprised. Policies like this are why we rank among the highest school systems, not just in Connecticut, but across America. Your proposed policy will make this school district even stronger and help our teachers focus on educating our students without distraction of social media on phones, watches, iPads, and other IT devices. I'm asking that you please consider adding personal computers. There is no reason a student needs to bring a personal computer when the school district and the state have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in Chromebooks, which are designed, IT protected, and set up for optimal learning. As a public health official, we are concerned as the impact of IT devices on education, and the sum of all credible research on social media shows that IT devices and long screen times are associated not just with poor health outcomes, but also one of the leading risks to student educational outcomes and academic goals. As a professor of higher education, students are using personal computers to mirror their cell phones in the classroom because the laptop will replace the cell phone with texting, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and other applications. Again, this policy will allow our teachers to focus on education rather than disruptions, and will validate the funding investments and the intent of school Chromebooks. Recently, personal computers have also become a significant cybersecurity risk to our school networks, as they are easy targets for viruses, ransomware, and spyware. As you may be aware, our students are already planning to bring their laptops to school if this policy passes. I spoke to Dr. Triberg, the Branford superintendent, today about this policy that they have on IT devices, and it includes.
I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay,
please.
and it includes personal computers. They've had great results, and the policy has a positive impact on student learning and preparing our students, not just for higher education, but entry into the professional workforce. Thank you again for all you do for the school district and giving me the opportunity to present. I wish you all a great holiday with your friends and family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to approach the board, speak to the board? All right. We're now going to go to review and approval of expenditures of the month. Ms. Baldwin?
Thank you very much. Expenditures for the month of November 2025 were $5,419,851.82. This represented 35.95% of the budget as compared to last year when we were at 37.48. The revenue for the month was $21,661.86. That accounted for $698.86 for non-resident tuition, $163 for Medicaid, and $20,800 for the Magnet Transportation Grant, which was the first of 2 payments we will receive this year. Salaries were in line with the prior year. Employee benefits are lower than last year. Purchase services are also currently lower. Tuition is also standing lower, but we do expect that to change a little bit. Supplies and materials are lower than the prior year. The capital budget currently is lower than the last year. This is due to reimbursement on one of our capital leases of $360,074.75. Transportation is higher than last year, even though we received that significant grant money. And the warrants we are submitting total $2,642,386.21.
All right. The board did, during the Operations Committee meeting, discuss this report and the warrants in more detail, but I'll open up to colleagues if they have any other questions or comments around the financials. All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the November 2025 financial reports for fiscal year 25-26?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Communications. Do any of my colleagues have any communications to report out from the past month? It's been kind of quieter.
Yes.
All right. Student representative. Good evening.
So for Baldwin, for Veterans Day, they came together and honored and thanked all the men and women that serve in the U.S. Armed Forces. And they were happy to see students demonstrate genuine gratitude, respect, and interest from the stories that the veterans were sharing. And they wanted to give a thank you as well to the veterans for taking the time to visit their school. And then this past December 4th, they celebrated Hats for Hope. And this was in partnership with the Tommy Fund for Childhood Cancer in Guilford to help support pediatric cancer patients, their families, and their teams and clinics. And then up until December 22nd, they're having they're teaming up with the Guilford Police Department. And they're trying to help students or children in need through donations of new or unopened gifts. And they're just trying to make another child's Christmas a little bit brighter, they said. And then for Melissa Jones, they had a grade 3 trip to the Denison Nature Center. And they also had their food drive last month benefiting the Guilford Food Bank. And they also had a bunch of enrichment PTO activities, so like wiffle ball, like a Harry Potter club, as well as a lot of kind of yoga. And then their book fair also starts this week.
At Adams, the students collected 2 carloads of food supplies for a pre-Thanksgiving donation to the Guilford Food Bank. They also raised $1,500 for Hats for Hope. For the holiday season, the Peer Helpers Club is sponsoring a toy drive, and the National Junior Honor Society is sponsoring a hat and mitten drive. The upcoming events include the annual 8th grade strings and band concert on December 17th and a visit for the GHS chorus concert for the annual Voices on December 19th. At Calvin Lee, they also participated in the Community Thanksgiving Food Drive, which was all donated to the Guilford Food Bank, and they raised money for Hats for Hope fundraiser as well, where they wore silly hats and brought in $1 for the Tommy Fund. On November 14th, the 4th grade classes at Calvin Lee welcomed their families to a poetry share, where each 4th grader chose a poet to research, writing a literary essay on their poet's background and inspiration for poetry while collecting evidence within texts. The 4th grade scholars were incredibly proud to showcase their learning with their families.
For AW Cox, this month's focus was on compassion, and they were making snowflakes in spirit of the holiday season and writing compassionate messages on them. I think they were I forget where they were sending them, but I think it could have been to a nursing home to try to like spread holiday cheer. They're continuing their EL module topics. I think she's reported on this in the past. I'm still not sure what the EL stands for. But kindergarten they're focusing on the weather. Grade 1, they're focusing on astronomy. Grade 2 is fossils. Grade 3 is frogs. And grade 4 is animal defense mechanisms. So they're trying to, kind of narrow in on some facets of nature for them to study. And then a group of kindergarten through third grade students attended the Little Leaders Conference last week, where they practiced problem-solving, communication, and collaboration.
For Guilford Lakes, the first grade had a field trip to Bishop's Orchard, so they wanted to thank the PTO for sponsoring this field trip, where they learned about tractors and other tools to help harvest the food at the orchard. The third grade students explored Connecticut's executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government, and they discovered who made the rules in Connecticut. So students elected a governor among their classmates. They got to debate a bill, and they held like a mock trial. And through this role-playing and active participation, students learned the purpose of rules and laws, and they explored the separation of powers and discovered rights and the responsibility of individuals. Author Rachel Wilson spoke to her students in a live virtual meeting about her book, To Catch a Ghost. So students learned about how she creates her novels and they got to participate in a question and answer session with all virtual attendees, and she even showed them how the book was illustrated and offered like a step-by-step instruction for them to try it. And then they collected pet and food supplies for the Dan Cosgrove Animal Shelter. So thank you to the Guilford Lakes students, families, and staff for their generous donations. And then at Guilford High School, they had, I'm sure many probably went, but they had the tree lighting concert, which is always really beautiful to like go see and like be a part of that community there. And then I know there's concerts tomorrow for chorus and orchestra. Is band also there?
Jazz band is
Jazz band.
Friday.
Oh, Friday. That's fun.
Yeah.
And then, the newsletter, or the Guilford High School newspaper had another publishing, which was really fun to see like the work that students have been putting into that. I think this is their second year, like officially running. So
Do they print that, or is that digital?
it's mostly digital, but there's like a couple printed copies.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then winter sports are starting up too, so I'll be back into that.
Great. I was one of the people at the concert this weekend. It was
Yeah, it was great.
fabulous.
It was good.
So it was fabulous. Absolutely. Excellent. Any questions for our student reps? So I'm guessing the EL is the English language. That's often
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah. But it's great. No, it's great that you're reporting on all those details. So
Not to put you on the spot, we are voting on the calendar for next year. Do you guys have any feedback about starting before or after Labor Day? You're a senior, you're graduating.
I think I like before Labor Day.
Yeah, I kind of like getting out.
Getting out a few days earlier?
Yeah. And it's like summer's kind of already over because like preseason for sports starts. So I feel like starting earlier might kind of just get the school year started and not have to worry about it.
I know I was dreading starting before. I love my summers, so starting before Labor Day to me
Right.
was like horrible, but it really wasn't that bad. I thought it was fine. I was really like, no, 2 more days of summer. And then it was
don't take it away.
I know. No, I didn't think it was that bad.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
It's helpful.
no, excellent. Any other questions for? All right. We will not see you till January, so if you are celebrating a holiday this month, happy holidays for whatever you celebrate, and enjoy a little time off. And we look forward to seeing you in January. And as usual, you're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to go. We know you're all very busy.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Freeman could not be with us tonight, so we don't have a superintendent's report. Do you have anything that you need to fill us in,
Well,
Mr.
there
Hamel?
is no official superintendent's report, but if you ever ask me to speak, I will. So there's just two things I'd like to say, if
Sure.
I could. One is I just want to give some recognition to Dr. Goss, isn't here tonight either. She and several members of our teaching staff here in the district are presenting at a Learning Forward conference up in Boston, their national conference, which is really quite an honor.
That's great.
And they're presenting on HQI, high quality instruction, and they're also presenting on our model of professional growth, our professional growth plan. So I'm sure she'll have more to talk about, but that's where she is.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah,
That's
so
terrific.
I just wanted to put that out there. And also, I know this is the last broadcast meeting before the holiday season, and just on behalf of Dr. Freeman, Dr. Goss, myself, the entire administrative team, just want to wish the community a happy holiday season.
Wonderful.
That's
Thank
the
you.
award. You got it.
Great.
Perfect.
You'll win some kind of award for speed in superintendent. All right, board agenda 9.1 is to act on personnel item. We're being asked to ratify the resignation of the following teacher: Tess Fukuyama, Guilford Lakes Elementary School special education teacher. Is there a motion to ratify this resignation?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? All right, thank you. 9.2 is to act on the school calendar drafts. So this was a receive item last month. It is now an item for us to act on. Just as a reminder, although Mr. Del Ventura kind of clued us in with his question to the students, we're looking at two drafts of the calendar for consideration. They align on almost everything. The difference is indeed the start date. So draft number 1 has a start date of September 3rd, which is actually the Thursday before Labor Day in 2026, because Labor Day is quite late. And draft number 2 has the first day of school on September 8th, which is the Tuesday after Labor Day. As was also suggested by the students, what that means is a slightly different end date. So draft 1, again, starts September 3rd and ends the school year on June 16th, 2027. And that is before there's any missed school or snow days or any type of events, which could happen, obviously. And then draft number 2 starts on September 8th and ends currently on June 18th. So we are being tasked to act on one or the other. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments? Just as a reminder to the public, this current school year we are in did start on the Thursday before Labor Day.
My only concern about draft number 2, and I did raise this, but I didn't hear any follow-up, is draft number 2, the last day of school is the 18th. As of right now, state of Connecticut recognizes Juneteenth. That would be the day that would be the holiday. And it does require that local school districts either close or conduct educational programs about its significance. I know that we're in this weird time frame where we don't know if this is still going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a national holiday going forward, or if it's just going to be a state holiday, or if it's not going to be a holiday at all. But it does cause me some concern, just in terms of...
It also does give us very little leeway just in case we do have a snow day. It would kind of lapse into the next week to finish up school.
Yep.
Did we, I can't recall, did we set graduation day as the 11th, Friday the 11th?
We for this current year,
Right.
We've
already set the date.
We've already set graduation
But
date.
for 27, we have not.
No.
So we would-
We
okay.
would not do that until next year.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. I am in favor of draft number 1 for one of the reasons that was certainly the reason we decided on the before Labor Day start this current year, which is my understanding, and any colleagues who have either a different understanding or can support this statement, let me know, is that it does provide our sports teams an easier transition into the school year because there is a requirement that they have to be, I think, in school for a certain number of tapes and practicing before they can start in contests or meets. And a later start date makes that a little more challenging. I don't know if the fact that Labor Day is so late adds to that or not, but I'm happy to support draft number 1 with a Thursday, September 3rd start date in support of those teams, because I'm not seeing a huge difference between either calendar.
Yeah, especially
otherwise.
this year. Likewise, coming from a family that has 2 athletes that start as early as I think the second week of August. They're already in school mode, but again, I'm just one sample size of a larger community. I think in all honesty, that week of before Labor Day. It just presents itself as a good opportunity to get our kids in school and get a few days under their belt.
And just a reminder that when we initially, I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, we started talking about whether it should be after Labor Day or before Labor Day. The community, as usual, was split in half.
Absolutely.
Right? You had a bunch of people that wanted the summers, and then you had a whole group that was like, no, send them back because there's no camps, there's no daycares, there's no anything to watch young children in that time frame because all the college kids are back at school, so there's no camps. So I've always been in favor of going back to starting before Labor Day for those reasons.
Do we know if this is when other districts are starting? Like, it's still, even Thursday the 3rd feels so late.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Well,
Is that-
I'm not sure. I do know last year, so obviously not the year we're in, but last year when we were still starting after Labor Day, we were kind of unusual for the
Yes.
shoreline,
Yeah.
right? Most of our neighboring districts were indeed starting before Labor Day, and I'm seeing Mr. Hamill nod his head.
That's right. Yeah, usually the risks to learn for us.
Right.
Those districts get together and try. They don't do 100%, but
Right.
try to align their calendars as best they can. And most of them start prior to Labor Day.
Prior to Labor Day.
Yeah.
But right, I'm wondering if they start in August even.
Right. I'm wondering if it's the week before.
I don't know.
I would doubt that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't say that definitively.
Yeah. Other thoughts or comments or?
I have a question completely unrelated to the start date. Maybe you could answer this one. Who sets the parent-teacher conference dates? Is that done by the building administrator?
It's done as a whole district, but with collaboration with the building administrators, yes.
Okay.
Nobody went for my whole let's add another day to February vacation.
I know. I know.
Oh,
All right. I'm not hearing a lot of conversation. Does someone want to make a motion in favor of one of these? And we
I
can-
make a motion to move forward with draft number 1 with a start date of September 3rd.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All right, so there's a motion and a second for draft number 1 with a September 3rd start date, which again is the Thursday before Labor Day. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstentions. All right, so that's a unanimous vote in favor of draft number 1. All right. 9.3 is to act on the Board of Ed meeting calendar draft for 2026. This identifies all of our regular Board of Ed meetings, which are typically the second Monday of the month. We do note there are a couple. April 6th is the first Monday because of April vacation, and then October 13th is a Tuesday due to Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day. And then the workshop meetings, which are 9 of the 12 months. Fourth Monday of the month. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, corrections? I did, because I think we had this happen within the last couple of months, check Jewish holidays, because we did have a meeting, I think, this past fall on which it was essentially sundown, and we wanted to avoid that again. So I think we're in good shape. Any other thoughts or comments before we vote? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the Board of Education 2026 meeting schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. All right, unanimous. And then 9.4 is the 2026 Board of Education committee meeting schedule for the Operations Committee, the Policy Committee, and the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Committee. Is there a motion to approve these dates?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions, corrections? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstained? All right. Excellent, that is unanimous. 9.5 is to receive for possible action, recommendation from the Policy Committee, revisions to Policy 5128, student use of personal communication devices. Do you want to say anything about this, or I can present?
I mean, I think that at this point, we've seen it as a full board.
Full board, great. So I will note, the policy came to the Board of Ed last month. There were some comments during our discussion that led to a couple of action items, essentially to update the policy for tonight. So I am noting a couple. One, under definitions. After some discussion, e-readers was removed from the personal technology devices under definitions. Under policy all grade levels, the second and third bullets were split out a bit to acknowledge devices, the ability to use devices after school hours, even if kids were in the building, right, for activities, et cetera. And then on the second page, under progressive discipline and restorative practices, as we expected and discussed, there was some updating of the approaches to discipline, so that now we have a third offense, a second offense, a device taken from student and held for the remaining period. The third offense, device taken from a student held for the remainder of the day, parent, guardian notified, and then chronic offenses, device held until parent, guardian conference. So a little more, another step before we got to chronic offenses. The only other thing I would like to bring up in our conversation tonight as we consider this, we have talked about this policy and noted a possible interest in an implementation of January of this year. I would like to introduce the suggestion that we consider delaying implementation until September. I have had some discussions that suggest that it could be really helpful in terms of additional time with staff and administration really working for the most successful implementation. We have heard from a number of parents as well with different concerns. I have had a conversation with Dr. Freeman, again, who cannot be here tonight, who is certainly in support of recommending a deferred implementation until September to allow the principals, particularly Ms. Chaff and her staff at the high school, the school building in which the greatest change is going to be experienced, to really give them time to be able to kind of thoughtfully talk through, work with staff, teachers. This will be a big change in some of the day-to-day approaches to cell phone use. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up as part of our discussion tonight. I don't know if there are other pieces of the policy that we want to discuss as we're considering this.
It was my understanding, in light of tonight's testimony, that we included personal computers as being banned as well. And if not, then I think we should.
I don't recall that.
And I am recalling that it came up as a conversation, because I think I even brought it up perhaps at our last meeting, and the thought
It got
was
raised someplace, yeah.
the thought was at this time that that the administration was not considering at this time preventing students from using or bringing in their personal computers, that was not a part of the policy.
And now that it's raised, what would be the reason for keeping it out? That is, why would we want students bringing their personal computers in if our concern is banning bell-to-bell other devices? That is, I think we inadvertently didn't include it, unless someone's got a strong argument for including it as excluding it. I mean, we might as well deal with the issue right now, one way or the other.
Especially if we're postponing it.
Especially if we're
it to
postponing it.
September.
We do have in the definitions something that says not limited to, includes but is not limited to.
That's what I thought.
Cell
Cell
phones,
phones,
smartwatches, tablets, wireless headphones, earbuds, eyeglasses, and other wearable devices. So we have a little bit of, I think, the ability to add that if in fact.
Well, we have it's somewhat inclusive, but we might as well make it explicit rather than implicit. We've eliminated everything else. I mean, it's much more obtrusive for a student to be using a personal computer than a watch, for example. If we've eliminated the watches, we might as well eliminate personal computers.
I'm at the risk of putting a couple of people on the spot who may say,
Yeah, I
I'd
was
like
just
to
gonna-
defer.
I was just gonna say.
I would like to defer. But I do want to note that my recall of the discussion included Dr. Freeman saying that that was not part of the policy that they had put together to put in front of us. He is obviously not here at this moment to be able to talk about that. Mr. Hamill, I don't know if you or Ms. Chaff, if you are prepared to speak to that again or not. And Julie, if you want to join us at the table, you're certainly welcome. But I just want to, I can't imagine that it wasn't considered.
Yeah.
And if you're able to speak to why it's not in the current policy, it would be helpful for us to hear it tonight.
And the only other question that I'll bring up during this conversation as well is, we do have a pretty strict network in place that there is a very big difference between the personal laptop and a phone. A phone is not on the network. It's on the cellular network versus a computer being on the Wi-Fi network here, where we have restrictions and the ability to control what's viewed on the Wi-Fi network.
But really mostly on Chromebook. I just want to remind you guys that when we had that special policy meeting specifically about this, that was the first question I asked was about the personal computers, and I asked why it wasn't included. Because I know that those do, especially if the family has money and they get a nice brand new MacBook Air or whatever, it does mirror your cell phone. So the kids can do everything they could do on the cell phone on that computer. So that was the first question I asked, and Dr. Freeman did specifically say it was not included in this policy. And then we had a whole discussion about why and possibilities. But yeah. If we're looking at distractions and we're looking at things that are bad for kids and the social media and all those things, those come on personal computers. And why aren't we using or enforcing the kids to use the Chromebooks that are paid for and issued by the district that have even more protections
Right,
through the Wi-Fi, the firewalls and all that, where the school actually owns those things and can look at them at any time they want to see what's being done on those computers.
It's another point.
Versus a personal computer they have no right to look at. So.
Doug, did you?
I'm recalling all of those conversations and that it is not included in the policy, and I believe that was purposeful. I cannot remember, and I'm looking at Principal Chaff, the specific reasons that they weren't. I know there was discussion about it would be very difficult for a student to try to text, for example, on a laptop computer during class and access social media because of the network questions that Mr. Delventura brought up. I also think we're a community that has invited those into the school in the past, right? It is not something we've restricted. That's about as much as I can recall without completely deferring.
No, fair enough,
Invited
and I'm
phones, that
recognizing
too.
that Dr. Freeman is not here to add his own. Joy, do you feel that you have something that you want to speak to on this? And again, I'm not asking you to represent someone else's thoughts, I just don't know.
They're not supported, and by that I mean you don't have the same access with your personal laptop as you do with your Chromebook. There's limitations in terms of printing, not that we print as much as we used to because of the Google platform, but so we've sort of been mildly discouraging students from bringing their personal laptops, not because we have had a lot of issues with them, but because the tech department can't support students on their personal laptops. They can't support when something's going wrong. They can't support when it's not connecting to the network accurately. Those kinds of issues come up with Chromebooks as well, but there's so many students and not enough tech folks to go around that we've been sort of mostly hyper-focused on the technology that we're providing to students and not the things that aren't working when they are bringing their own devices. I do remember us having the conversation. I remember Ms. Baldwin bringing it up. I don't remember the why. I honestly don't remember the why in terms of why we didn't close that circle.
I mean, we have the luxury of not deciding it tonight in any case because it's not crucial that we do it tonight. But it just seems to me if we're trying to avoid people in study halls and lunch from using devices, and this is a device, and some kids are using it, and some kids are not, it just doesn't seem to be justified. Now, Dr. Freeman may have a powerful explanation, and we'll all nod our heads, but unless he does that, I would argue that it makes sense to be. We've argued we want a clear, clean, consistent policy. And so there has to be a strong reason to make it an exception. And given that we heard about tonight, it's, we ought to just make sure we keep that in mind and don't lose it. That's all.
Other thoughts or discussions on this topic?
I would imagine from an IT administrative perspective, it's easier to manage Chromebooks than it is personal laptops.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sorry to put you on the spot, Kevin.
No, that's all right.
Do we have restrictions on our Wi-Fi networks that would prevent at least social media, websites of concern?
Overall filter, like in between the internet and here.
Yep.
So everything's filtered that way. But on the Chromebooks, we have a little bit more.
Right.
I have a ton of control.
I would see it's no different than a corporate, policy where you can't use your personal laptop in a business as opposed to the business issued laptop that you would be getting.
Yeah, bring your own policy went way back before the Chromebooks.
But just like you can use iPhones without being on the network, you can use new computers without being on the network.
Yeah.
So you're essentially, with these new computers, have access to the same thing. And number one. Number two, if we have a small percentage of students sitting at study hall or at lunch using these, we don't want that to become a class thing. Okay, these kids can afford to have this thing and other kids can't, blah, blah, blah. It just seems to me it sets us up for all kinds of problems unless there is a wonderful explanation about why, which we don't hear tonight.
Do we have an understanding of just maybe what percentage of students have their own laptop that they use?
It tends to be the older students who
Seniors,
want to
yeah.
use their own laptops. I think the features that come, and I'm not just referring to the features related to mirroring your phone, I mean the features overall that a laptop, a MacBook can do versus what a Chromebook can do is very attractive to them. So I think it's kind of a rite of passage in the sense of becoming a junior, senior. I don't see a lot of freshmen, showing up with a brand new shiny laptop to use. They're pretty much using their Chromebooks. And that seems to be pretty consistent through sophomore year. You start to see juniors bringing in their own laptops. They tend to be Macs if they bring in anything.
Yeah.
And then more so with seniors. So it's sort of a progressive thing that I've observed. Haven't collected any formal data on this. This is all sort of anecdotal observation on my part.
Okay.
Would there be any academic assignments that kids would need to do something on a Mac that they wouldn't do on a Chromebook? Is there any academic reason that they should have access to their own computers?
Yes, and so the Macs in particular are useful in some of the tech areas around some of the artistic features that come with them, and that is why we have a Mac lab that's hardwired with the particular resources that the students use in that lab for digital cinematography in particular uses the Mac lab. There's some other that are other classes as well that are more geared toward manipulation of image and images, movie making, that kind of thing. The Macs are a little bit more nimble, but we've compensated for that by having them available. The other class that it impacts quite a bit would be the audio production class, which is a newer course that we started running a couple of years ago. They're using older Mac laptops that we had that teachers had turned in as a starting, foray into audio production. That those are quickly becoming obsolete in terms of what they can do, and so we're trying to come up with a plan to replace them in the next, hopefully, year or two.
But the school provides those computers for the students who are in those particular classes. So.
Yes. The only time I've heard any issues around images and digital portfolio work has been in the art classes, and we're trying to figure out ways around that. Students are tending to use their phones, however, the cameras on their phone, to make digital images of their work and then uploading it into a digital portfolio, just because the quality of the image that they can get using the camera on their phone tends to be a higher quality image than what they can get from their Chromebook camera. I think we can work around that, and we're trying to figure out how to do that. But again, having a little bit more time to work out those kinds of kinks would be helpful to us in terms of the day-to-day practicality of the teachers in the classroom. I've heard Mr. Delaventura multiple times. He said it doesn't have to be perfect out of the gate, and I 100% agree with you, and I would argue that no matter what we do, it's not going to be perfect. But I would like a little more time to kind of talk through with the faculty about the specific logistics of making a very concerted effort to enforce this with fidelity, rather than sort of saying, okay, go, and then we haven't really worked through all of the logistics that we could.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there's nothing about us postponing this, say, to September, that would stop the school from imposing a policy in the meantime of maybe all instructional time has to be turned in and off, right? We already have something like that.
We have many teachers in the school who already have a no cell phone policy during their instructional time. It's not universal today in every single classroom, but I do know of many teachers who, and the administration has been supporting them in that as well. So we're already collecting phones in the office. We're already, and that's all in support of those classroom teachers who have instituted a cell phone policy within their class.
Is there anything we could do to support you to enhance that to all the classes? So that way it's almost, instead of just all of a sudden in September it happens, sort of easing into it with all instructional time. Is there something that we can do as a board to help support you with that in the meantime?
Well, we've also discussed there's that, and there's also the possibility of sort of a trial run. Right. Let's take 2 weeks.
I love that
We're
idea.
all going to commit to this.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes, take notes, come back together, I think that one of the concerns that I've had all along about making a policy, knowing the policies that I already have in place and how inconsistently they are followed, I would like to get as much teacher input and feedback as we can, and I think feedback is the right word because we pretty much know what the policy is going to be now.
Right.
I think if we give the teachers as much input as we can in terms of actually supporting them to put this in place in their classroom, it's going to create a lot fewer bumps when we go to full implementation. So I'm not giving you a direct answer to your question.
No.
I'm aware
You
of
are
that.
now.
And I also think there's different ways to go about doing that as well.
100%. I do have one last question, and I'm sure you guys haven't thought this out. You're going to have the kids with the exceptions. Have you thought of any ways? So here's my concern, right? You have a kid with an IEP. They're anxious because going through the hallways is noisy, and there's a lot of kids, and maybe in their IEP they're allowed to have their phone and listen to music in the hallway while they go from class to class. I don't know if that exists, but let's just take that for example.
It does exist, yes.
So now you have that kid going through a hallway, and there's a teacher in the hallway who doesn't know that child, doesn't know they have an IEP, stops that child and sends them, sends them to the office, takes the phone or whatever. Do you have any thoughts on how you're going to handle those types of kids? Is there going to be like I know you have the laminated elevator pass. Are you going to have some sort of a laminated pass that a kid could show to a teacher saying, no, this is okay for me, please don't send me to the office?
I would assume these are the things you're going to work out.
I think these are the things we're
That's
going
an
to work out.
example, right?
Yeah,
That's an
a great
example, right, of what you might need time for.
And actually, the best correlate I can give you is the dress code. So when we changed the dress code and we made the language more gender neutral, and we were trying to make it a more ubiquitous policy across the school, one of the things that came up early on was well-meaning, but we had some staff members who were pulling students aside that they didn't know, and they were using judgmental language that we had pulled out of the policy, like that's inappropriate for school, and so I think those are the kinds of things we need to talk through as a faculty. Because the one thing that I have heard over and over again is that the faculty, the students, and the parents would all like it to be consistent. And I don't think, we will try, but I don't think it's going to be consistent if we just roll it out now without talking through those very specific instances that are going to come up. Okay. We also have students who are allowed to have headphones on during class. We have there's all kinds of exceptions that come up. Students with diabetes need their phones to monitor their blood sugar. All of those types of things will come up, and I know that the policy allows for it on paper. How it's handled, those very practical, logistical conversations are what we need time to have. Great. So that we're not making students feel, we have to be careful about confidentiality too. Right. I'm a little bit concerned about having a pass. Right. Because then if I have a bright pink pass, then that means that I must be a special education. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So
I don't want to, have students identified publicly in that kind of a way, but I do think we need to come up with a plan for how to handle it. And I have had some initial conversations with other principals who've rolled out these policies and some of their ideas. But I think that we need some additional, I know the teachers are going to have questions too, and we haven't even had a chance to navigate that with the teachers yet.
Great.
I love your idea of a dress rehearsal. Just a week or two here in which before the end of the school year, we could trial this to exactly highlight those issues right there. Just how we're going to deal with those come September.
Right.
One of the big issues is going to be with regard to enforcement is whether or not one moves to a pouch system or something that, in essence, puts the phones away. And ideally, if students were to buy into, explicitly ask to commit to collectively a policy that does not require a pouch, knowing that might not last very long in September, that would be one way to go. If, however, between now and September, it's judged that that's just folly,
Right.
then we need time to figure out a system. So how do we get teacher buy-in, which would be crucial, because that's, I mean, in essence, we're making an educational decision.
Right.
And the educators, presumably the board and the faculty and the administrators, are making an educational decision. What we're asking now is for people to participate in that in a way that there's a lot of things that we ask students to do that they wouldn't do on their own. We think this is defensible. But, so during this period, if there was some formalized way of, whether it's trial and so on, of both getting teachers and students, potentially parents as well, to formally and explicitly, that may mean a lot of discussions, that would really be very useful. Because at least when it starts out in September, we could say, you know what, that's not something we're surprised about. We discussed this, as opposed to we just didn't deal with this and that was a dumb thing to miss. So we got a wonderful opportunity in this coming term by deferring this to be educational about it.
I agree, and I think it also, to add on to what you're already saying, I think it gives us at GHS more time to do the kind of messaging we want to do with students in particular. I think that the younger students, I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue. I think it's going to be the juniors and the seniors, and I want to take the time to, do the messaging around, there's other ways that you can use your Chromebook to plan your day. There's other, kind of come up with some troubleshooting strategies for them to have available to them. And also, here are the benefits of taking a phone break for 7 hours out of your day, right? Like that kind of messaging with their parents, with them. And not that they're necessarily going to agree with what we're saying, but I think it's important that we spend that time versus, if you just take the candy away, and that's a simplification, if you just take the candy away and there's no talk around the why of it, the students and developmentally where they are as teenagers, they're going to question and push boundaries anyway. That's just what they do. I would like to spend a little more time, sort of preparing for them for this eventuality rather than just taking away, because then it creates a taboo, and then it's creating an underground, if you will, which every school that I've talked to has said that they have, regardless of whether they're using the PAPs or not. If we can minimize that by having adult conversations with them about why this expectation is coming around now, then no, we won't get 100% buy-in, but I think we'll get better buy-in from the students, and then the teachers, as a result, will be less frustrated in having to support the enforcement of it, because then they're not. I think some teachers are legitimately concerned about their relationships with students. If I'm having an argument with you about you giving me your phone, then how much of a positive relationship am I losing, and then how long will it take me to rebuild that relationship with you again so that we can move forward? It's not that they don't want to have rules and boundaries. I think it's more along the lines of, I want them to feel supported by the administration as well, that they know exactly what the steps are to follow to get as much support as they can as we go through this together.
Of course, parents are facing this every day. In terms of having to deal with their kids and their personal relationships. Parents who are trying to discourage the use of this, particularly late at night. So a lot of people are dealing with this at the moment. To the degree to which we can be clear about what we're doing and why also helps parents to appreciate that the rationale we're doing is not, quote, administrative. It really is a powerful research base for this. And it would be great if our students could sort of become acquainted with some of the basic lessons that have been learned so far about kids their age being quite harmed by it, even if they haven't experienced it as that.
I see a lot of connections to the no smoking
Right.
education
Yes.
happen, right? Like, I'm dating myself, but when I went to high school, there were places on campus where you could go to smoke cigarettes,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And it was okay. Like,
Well, we
you were
had
allowed to
it
do that.
with vaping. We had it with vaping
Right.
2 years ago.
And so I think that, we have enough data to suggest that there are some negative impacts on well-being based on the amount of time that all of us, let's face it, all of us are on our devices, right? And so I think that, what I balked at all along was I didn't know how to enforce this. I didn't know how to enforce it with 950 people, students. I think I have a better idea of how to do that now, but I also think that if I had the luxury of time to do the messaging piece, I think it would go more smoothly.
Thank you for that.
Well,
That's
Kristen
helpful.
brought,
It's very helpful.
Kristen brought up a good point when we were talking about it this weekend, is that it's already banned in 8th grade, right? They already don't have it during the course of the day. So if you start in September, you have that fresh batch of freshmen who are already used to this policy. And if you start that message now with them saying, look, when you go to the high school, it's the same policy. So you're already going to have that year. I hate to say it, but I'm sure the seniors this year are going to be very grateful that you didn't do it for their last part of high school.
But to your point, it's worked out in 3 years. Like you're through
done,
the whole
'cause
system
everybody-
in 3 years.
Yeah, and there's a lot of colleges that, I know Southern, which my daughter's in the education program as a freshman, thank goodness, which is crazy, but it's device-free. There's no computers, there's no laptops, there's note-taking is by hand throughout the class, and some of her classes are long. And she is happy with it, she appreciates it. It's not 7 hours, but it's something. It's something.
Hopefully they have to write in cursive too, imagine.
Other,
Classes
so
in cursive.
I don't want to move on if so we've had an important discussion about implementation. You provided some really useful, specific details to support that rationale. We have a question about personal computers under the definition of personal technology devices. Are there any other parts of this policy that anyone wanted to talk about or address tonight?
I absolutely hear, Julia, the concerns that you have in terms of enforcement of the policy, and I think it's really essential that we get it right. So I am in favor of delaying the implementation. One of the things I've been reading about recently is research that was done by Angela Duckworth, who wrote the book Grit, and she's now really focused on the phone issue, and she's done research that's now already spoken to 20,000 educators in all 50 states and asked them about the phone bans. And what they've discovered is that educators are happier when the policies are stricter. And so as we're thinking about delaying the implementation, I wonder whether we also consider this within our budget for next year as to what is the right way to withhold the phones. Because her research shows that willpower is a hard issue for kids, just like your analogy with the candy. And if you're trying to help someone quit smoking, you don't say, put the cigarettes in your back pocket and walk around with them all day and just don't smoke. With these kids and where they are developmentally, it is really hard to withstand that temptation to get back on your phone. So situation modification tends to be much more successful than willpower. So would we consider in our budget discussions, are we thinking about adding a pouch or making this policy easier for teachers to implement by maybe it's providing more support in the hallways or during lunch waves with additional staff budgeting that way? So I wonder whether we could consider those things.
I will say that it is not, it was intentional that the policy came back to us.
Yes.
Without a Yonder pouch as part of the policy. And it is my understanding that there is significant concern about the kind of start of the day and the end of the day, having staff at each entrance in order to make sure each kid is covered with a Yonder pouch and the timing. So I guess what I'm doing is I'm not shutting down the conversation in any way, shape, or form. I am noting that I have heard some discussion from the administration that was considered And there are concerns about disruptions on that end as well.
And
I'm sharing information. Truly, I'm not shutting down the conversation.
Yeah,
And situation modification can be as simple as saying phones in lockers, right? We're not going to keep them in the backpacks. We're going to ask kids to use their lockers, which I know is not the custom at Guilford High School, but there are ways we could consider it, and just having more time might allow us to continue that dialogue about what is the right way to keep kids off and away all day.
So, and also not to shut down the conversation, to think through it. If we want to, one approach here tonight is to vote on a policy that then communicates to the community, to the administration. This is what you're working on for the next 6 to 9 months for implementation. I don't have a problem if we as a board want to spend another month or two discussing, but I don't think it's helpful to ask, for instance, Ms. Chaff to start working on implementation and then in April say, we're going with yonder pouches now, right? Like I don't have, I don't have a problem if we implement this next September and halfway through the year, it seems like we may want to consider something stronger. I also, again, personally don't have a problem if we want to have a further discussion about that, but I don't want to delay a decision on this 4 months because that helps no one in terms of planning for implementation. And 2, not lost on the research, I personally want to respect the people who are implementing this and perhaps the decision that they want to start with. I'm one person of 9, so that's not anything other than that.
Part of what Amy's also suggesting is that we take account now as to what we might need for funding for next year, if in fact halfway through the year we want to go to yonder pouches. Like, are we going to kind of build in extra staffing positions that we will wind up seeing in the budget this year in a month or 2? Are we going to wind up building in a slush fund for yonder pouches? Like, will we see anything in this year's budget that will accommodate for extra staff or extra ideas that might wind up needing implementation next
If I
year?
misunderstood you, then I'm really sorry.
That was where I was headed with it,
Okay.
so I'm sorry to
Okay.
misrepresent.
No. It's conversation.
But so it seems to me that for the signaling purpose that's been raised, it's important that we say tonight that we're, in principle, we are adopting this policy with details, maybe as it is at the moment, but with modifications coming in the next 5 months. Everybody will know that there's going to be a ban on cell phones. The small details, which are relatively speaking small, are forthcoming, but nobody will miss the message that the train has left the station.
And I frankly think that the yonder pouch decision is an implementation decision.
Yes, it is, exactly.
That's the way I see it.
And in terms of funding, the non-lapsing account, that's for a one-time expense, right?
A one-time, not necessarily a one-time expense, but it's for an educational expense.
Well, there's plenty of room for argument there.
It seems like it might be a good idea to have a date in mind where we could put this back on the agenda once you've had time to maybe gather some of that feedback and then to share that with us to see if there are arguments or reasons to modify the policy or to do that. We could set like in April or May to put that back on the agenda.
Even February.
To discuss
the feedback, not to delay the policy at all, but to discuss the feedback of how implementation or how it's going. Yes.
Okay. So, couple of possibilities here tonight. First of all, are there any other topics related to any other piece of the agenda that anyone wanted to discuss or bring up?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Actually, I just want to double check, just to be clear. So it sounds like there's some early adopters in terms of the teachers, people who have really started this.
Yes.
If we sort of delay the actual implementation until September, will they feel deserted? Will they feel supported? Are they going to be okay if
Well, we will continue supporting them. We're already supporting them. We're already taking phones from kids and holding them in the office. We're already, we're already supporting the teachers who have, and we have been for more than a year. So I think that what it does allow for is a little bit more time to sort of also explore the best practices side of this. Like, you've been implementing this for more than a year. What has worked? What hasn't worked? How do you hit the consistency piece? How do you, because, there's moments of frustration with any rule that you have in your classroom, just like there is with any rule in the school. And I think that the teachers who have been already doing this have worked through a lot of those kinks already, and so they will be able to help us put together resources for everyone in the school to use as we scale up to the full school. I don't know if they will feel like I'm dragging my feet, but they already feel that about me because they were already asking for a cell phone policy more than a year ago. And at the time, my thinking was around this idea of, well, we have all these policies that we're not enforcing now, so I don't know why I would make another policy. So I think I take the hit on that in terms of I've already received that criticism and critique from the teachers who've been implementing it. I think if they know that we're going to be doing this, that's a big signal of support to them. And honestly, they will feel less frustrated if their colleagues are doing it with them.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah. Excuse me again.
Anything else? No. All right. So it seems we have a couple of possible actions here. One is to take the policy we have in front of us and vote on it tonight to signal kind of this is our plan. We could certainly add literally a sentence. I would put it under purpose and rationale. This policy would go into effect on August 31st, 2026. That is one option. Another option is to intend to do this at our January meeting when Paul is here, if we want to have, Dr. Freeman, if we want to have a discussion around the inclusion of personal computers under personal technology devices. And I'm willing to do either, because we can always revisit a policy once we have voted on it. We could have that discussion with we could vote on it tonight, have that discussion with Dr. Freeman, and find out that the rationale is pretty strong against that approach and keep things as they are, or hear differently and make a different decision and vote again. I'm open to what we'd like to do.
My opinion is to vote regardless.
Right.
I don't think we should delay this any longer.
Right.
I'd like to vote. So.
Right.
And I think it's easier to wait just 1 month to January, get the answer from Dr. Freeman, because it is hard to change a policy. It's not as easy as it sounds, right? It takes a couple. You got to propose it. You got to have it in a policy meeting. Then it's got to be
I don't
voted
think we
on.
necessarily have to, if we've, as a board, have identified
The issues.
what we would want to update. So I'm going to suggest that we can vote on this tonight and literally re-vote on it in a month or two without having to go through the policy committee again, because we've identified what that issue would be. In this case, personal computers in the definition. So it's actually not a complicated process to revisit this, since we are identifying this discussion at the board level and identifying it.
Right, and I think we do have, but is not limited to, already in the policy. So we've got the language in there that allows us to easily add personal computers if we want to spell it out.
That's exactly right.
We're voting on the Constitution and we can amend it later.
Yes. Okay.
Do we want to add a sentence that says and again, I would put it at the bottom of the purpose and rationale on the first page. This policy will go into effect on August 31st,
Yes.
2026.
Yes.
Yes. Or just the beginning of school year.
Whatever the date.
I will say that August, I did look at the calendar because I was reminded
I
that.
just checked.
Thank you. I was reminded in earlier discussions this week that if we said September 1st, then the first, I don't know, there could have been a problem. August 31st is the Monday that teachers come back based on the calendar for orientation. Okay, so I'm going to ask if there is a motion to approve the proposed policy 5128, Board of Education policy, student cell phone and personal technology use, with the addition of the sentence, this policy will go into effect on August 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
I think
All
it should
right.
wait. I think it should wait till January, but that's fine.
We can certainly revisit. So we have a policy that we have voted on. We have a direction we're going in. We will have, we can certainly revisit again the question of personal computers with Dr. Freeman. And
That won't be the item I'm sure this is a policy that we will see often. It's a moving target.
Absolutely. Ms. Schaaf, I will say to you publicly, if there are ways, as you go through thinking with your colleagues, your staff, and obviously this is a district policy, but we just really recognize where the change is going to happen. If there are ways that we as a board can support you, if as you're going through implementation, you look at the policy and go, ooh, could we tweak that bullet now that I've talked? Please come back to us because we are just recognizing where the implementation of this policy lives and want to be able to support its success.
Thank you.
And really appreciate your contributions to the discussion tonight. It was really very helpful.
Thank you.
As well, Mr. Himmel. Excellent. Thank you. All right.
Good job, everyone. That was a big lift.
Yes. Okay, and I've lost my agenda and all my paper. I think that was the end of our...
Those reports on committees next.
Thank you. There's my agenda hiding in the paperwork. Okay, we are up to 10. Policy Committee, do you have anything to report out tonight?
I do not.
You do not. Operations Committee, anything addition?
No, nothing additional. Thank you.
All right. Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Committee.
Nothing new.
Nothing to add. This is a quick one. Liaisons to town committees? Anything? All right. And nothing for liaison to Learn Board of Directors. We are at number 11, which is an opportunity for public comments not on the board agenda. Is there anyone who would like to comment? Anyone who would like to comment? Would you like? Please come up.
I'm sorry. No worries.
No apologies necessary. Again, if you could give your name and address and please keep it to 3 minutes, that would be terrific.
Shelley Farhadian, 15 Sunset Creek Road, and thank you again for the opportunity. I really appreciated the conversation tonight. Thank you so much. I wanted to speak to a couple of the things that were brought up, if that's okay. One is just, I actually think that the watch language is pretty confusing in the policy as written now, because it says no watches, but I think previously they said watches, but they have to be disconnected from the network. So I think to have some clarity around that would be super helpful going into January in the future. Another minor point, and maybe this is for you to address later, sir. My understanding is you can make a hotspot from your phone even if your phone is sitting in the locker. And so personal laptops could be connected to your hotspot easily, and now you have access to everything. So maybe this is something that could also be addressed moving forward. But what I wanted to kind of just mention right now is I understand the desire to push off the implementation. I disagree with it, but it's okay there. I could see there are both sides to this. But This seems to me like a high school specific problem. Right now we have the elementary schools, Baldwin, Adams. There may be a policy on paper, but I'm telling you, as the parent of children at Cox and at Baldwin, the policy is not being implemented and it's not being enforced. I have a third grader who tells me that there are children in the class with watches that they're using to communicate with their parents during the school day. I mentioned it to the principal. I got the sense in our conversation that she did not feel empowered to deal with that problem. And likewise in Baldwin, the kids are using their watches to text and TikTok and whatever else during the day. This is what I hear from my daughter who's in 6th grade. And I discussed it with Mr. Buna recently as well. So perhaps there's an opportunity to not wait until September to at least empower the principals at the elementary and middle schools, really low-hanging fruit, to implement the policy as it stands now. Take away the device, call the parents, know that the board is headed towards a much stricter policy in September, that the high school needs some time to work out some kinks, but there's absolutely no reason, as from where I'm sitting as a parent, why we can't already make this happen, like right now, or January, or after February break, whatever it is. So I encourage you, please, to consider that, and thank you again for all the time that you've given me to speak with you guys and all the emails, and I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board
Hire that one.
tonight? All right. Hearing none. I don't have any closing comments. I don't know that we do, so I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a good evening and happy holidays as we head into holiday season in December. Thank you.